We are back, baby. We are back. And we never left. Well, we leave every day, but we are back. And today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic is on a systematic approach to philosophy. Philosophy itself is, well, for some people, it's quite enchanting. These concepts, a manual for living, as we referenced in a handful of episodes, it starts to just work. So you come back for more and more. And Vedanta, also known as Sanatana Dharma, which means eternal principles, eternal ideals, ends up just working. You get another principle. And it's like, wow, that helps with my personal relationships. That helps with my professional goals. That helps with my relationship with person X in my life. It's super frustrating at times, but that helps with that. Helps with mastering a craft. It helps with not getting too worked up. The commute to work. It does help with all of these things. But one of the, if I were to outline my favorite aspect about this philosophy, and especially starting with a book like Holocaust of Attachment and then moving to Vedanta Treatise, and then if you go from a few of these episodes as an on-ramp to Vedanta Treatise, and then maybe you jump into the online lectures from the ashram itself, which always have the link in the show notes. The thing that I think people around the 6-month mark start to notice is how systematic this knowledge is and is presented. Like I said, one principle off the shelf without any context of the others can be beautiful, is beautiful. But the systematic nature of this philosophy, where things just start to shift within you. Then you start to see the world around you shift and reorient. It's unlike anything that I've experienced, unlike anything that I've ever heard about when it comes to philosophy. I've never heard that there is this systematic just reorientation that happens within and around you when you take to a daily study of something like Vedanta. You can pair it with, you hear things like that with religion. And you can pair Vedanta with religion quite nicely. In fact, Vivekananda was asked 100 years ago when he was speaking in the US, one of the first people to come to the US to speak about this tradition and this philosophy. And he was asked, are you coming to replace Christianity? And he said, no, Vedanta makes the Christian a better Christian, the Jew a better Jew, the Muslim a better Muslim. And I know that that's been the case for my wife and I and myself here in Santa Monica in LA. It has not replaced, if anything, I've got a 10x, 50x higher appreciation for someone like Christ, someone that I grew up hearing and learning about on a weekly basis. Now I've got this daily, multiple times a day appreciation that I never had 10 years ago because of this philosophy. But this, as opposed to a religion, is such an internal shift. And it's an internal shift that works on every aspect of our personality. It shifts the way that, and this is unlike a religion, shifting how I take care of my teeth. Like I floss now. And it's somewhat of a trivial and ridiculous observation. But I take care of my teeth and I take so much better care of myself because of this philosophy in a way that there's no Christian way of flossing your teeth, but there is a Vedantic way of flossing your teeth. In other words, religion doesn't get into every aspect of everything that we're doing. Philosophy does. Vedanta does. This philosophy, with regards to a recent episode that we did on it's not what you do, it's what you do it for. Taking care of myself, going to the gym, that was something that I would do for myself. And then you get this systematic reintroduction to a reason to go to the gym, to be a better service to those around you, to make sure there isn't a distraction of the body when you are trying to reflect and study about these higher ideals, where you can sit and be unbothered for 45 minutes straight because your body isn't aching because you've taken care of it. These kinds of things it's part of this complete aspect of the philosophy when you take to it on a daily basis. But the complete aspect is that's maybe a few years in, you start to see it working through you completely. And for some, it might be much sooner than a few years in. But what people notice before that is the systematic way in which the philosophy, this knowledge, is introduced. Take Vedanta Treatise, for example. This book is so meticulously written over the course of 23 years, 14 revisions, and a master of a subject, already a master before writing the book, then sits down and says, all right, I'm going to write this book, and however long it takes is however long it takes to write what I think is the most systematic and complete compendium of this ancient philosophy that I've come across. And when you read it, you get 3 chapters in, 5 chapters in, and you're like, there isn't a misplaced word in this whole thing. And if people then have an itch to go beyond Vedanta Treatise to the online lectures, there's a 3-year course that you can take that you can do if you do it every day. You could do it in a year and a half. I'm in my 3rd cycle of it, and it's my favorite part of my morning ritual is a lecture that you get to watch from an ashram halfway around the world from the comfort of your couch or your house. It's a damn near miracle that that's possible today in 2024. And those online lectures are just as systematic. Whether it's the book and you just pick it up and you start reading, whether it's online lectures and you hit play, the systematic aspect of this philosophy is the reason that people will say there are a handful of people that got the message, but very few that also have the method. The way the knowledge is presented, it is both the message and the method, and you wake up in 6 months and you start flossing. It's the wildest thing. I look at my daily routines, and I mean, if I wasn't the one doing them, I would think it was a completely different person's life. And none of it took effort. That's the craziest part. There was maybe a little bit of effort in the beginning to wake up a little bit earlier, starting at 8:30 to study. And then I realized, oh, it's a little too late. The world's already kind of going at 8:30. Let me go back to 8. Let me go back to 7:30. For a guy that never took a college class before 11 a.m. because I thought I was a night owl, to waking up at 4:30 to study this philosophy every morning, because it is the foundation that the rest of the day is going to be designed around, built upon, leaning on, and knowing just how great those days go versus the days where if I miss that morning study, the way that those days tend to unfold, it is crazy to me. And I told you about flossing. That's nuts to me that I floss, but that's kind of a personal observation. I don't think that that's too extraordinary for you listening to this. But for me, I'm like, the waking up early thing is one thing. Then spending an hour to 2 hours on my body each day, then flossing? Whew. All the way to different career choices, or even the exact same career, but the way that you approach it and the harmony that you just see unfolding before you. Like I said, these are the later chapters of taking to this philosophy. At least, again, from my own personal experience, it was for me. Tends to be from those that study it. But the first few chapters of it is you just notice how systematic of an approach to wisdom this is. something that it is not found in anything. Socrates famously didn't leave us much. It is not found in the New Testament. It is a method of wisdom that I think you can, if you work really hard, you can find in many other traditions, maybe all major traditions. But with this philosophy and the approach to it, from the 3 daily practices of question everything, don't take anything for granted, and study and reflect daily, to the way that the information is presented, from the texts, the books, to the lectures, if people do graduate to that. It's on a silver platter, and that's today's reflection. Is there are many places where you can find the message, few where you can find the method to really internalizing that message. Even fewer have the systematic approach where the method feels effortless. Those 3 daily practices after a while feel absolutely effortless, for example. And that's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Daily Vedantic. This reflection is part of a free repeating 2-year course in Advaita Vedanta. Rooted in the timeless wisdom of the Upanishads, arguably the oldest philosophical texts on earth, you can begin with episode 1, which gives the 15-minute overview of the whole philosophy of Vedanta, or you can join the journey with any episode at any point. But the critical aspect of this course, of understanding and mastering anything, is to study and reflect, even for 10 to 15 minutes on the timeless each day, preferably at the start of your day. As is said in this philosophy, reflection is 100,000 times as powerful as listening. So listen, journal, sit with, discuss these concepts, or ask questions at thedailyvedantic.com with our AI-powered chatbot, informed by about 700 episodes here, as regularly as one can, if you want to see clarity and peace almost effortlessly unfold in your daily life. And if it doesn't result in a near immediate increase in clarity and peace, then toss aside and feel free to never listen again. One of the things that you might notice is after 7 or 8 days in a row, this doesn't feel like a discipline. This feels like a visit with a best friend, to dive into the timeless with daily reflection. Within a few days, it becomes one of your favorite parts of the day. You can also find out more, including news about in-person events in Los Angeles and beyond, at The Daily Vedantic on Instagram, or through our weekly newsletter at thedailyvedantic.com. Additionally, check out the links in our show notes for more resources like the books that are mentioned most frequently in the episodes, including Vedanta Treatise, perhaps the simplest and most straightforward read on this philosophy I've ever come across. Until next time, and from the entire team that works on the Daily Vedantic project, thanks for listening.